So in today's episode, we meet PJ and Geo Botha, who through their series Welvaartskeppers, or in English, Wealth Creators, there you go, on KykNet, and their podcast, The F Word, are living their passion to educate as many South Africans as possible. So very excited for this morning's show. So let's get it started. Good morning. Welcome back to another episode of Propulsion Live. Today is episode 23 of the third season, so that's the 183rd episode today. So really excited for our guests to have a conversation with them this morning around what they've been up to. They've been doing some exciting and really interesting things. I've been following them for quite a while and very excited to introduce them to some of you. Some of you may know them, some of you may very well be following them as well. But really excited to get into that. Then what does the rest of the morning look like? Well, we have this morning Leilani beside to come and talk to us the latest current affairs, all the way from the Financial Planning Institute. And we have Norma talking about how to keep going even when you don't believe. And we all can do with a little bit of that. Then I've got some more news to share with you around the Propulsion Summit, and then we'll get into the conversation. So let me say a quick good morning. You're welcome to say hi in the chat and have a conversation, chat to each other. Please keep to the topic. And you're welcome that when P and Hugh and myself are having a conversation to please also ask questions and maybe share some of your experiences and things as well, so that we can have some nice engagement. Alrighty, so let me see. Good morning, Albert. Nice to see you. It doesn't last forever. Yes, it seems to be on its way out. So we've got Mark. Good morning, Mark. Nice to see you. Harry, good morning. Good morning, Cobus. Nice to see you. We've got Barry. Good morning. Hope you're doing well. Mark, my old friend. I always get excited when I see Mark is here. Mark, down in Australia. Good morning. Hope you're doing well. Cobus, is there a sound problem? There shouldn't be a sound problem. We can double check. Let me just see. Cool stuff. All right. So, Nantes, good morning. We've got anybody who can confirm if there is a sound. Okay, there you go. Sounds better. Kavendra, good morning. We've got Yaku. Good morning. We've been a while, Yaku. Nice to see you. Good morning, Yonita. Hope you're doing well. We've got Adrian. Good morning. So awesome. And then Mr. David Kopp saying morning all over on LinkedIn. Thank you very much for joining us. Alrighty. So with that, let's get the morning started and go straight over to Leilani. She's got some interesting things to share with us in current affairs.
Yes, good morning, Fransha. It's not necessarily good news this morning, but by now, not so hot off the press news anymore. We all know that the South African Reserve Bank did increase the repo rate by 75 basis points yesterday. And the last time they increased it this sharply, I recall, was about 20 years ago. Now, I'm not sure where you found yourself 20 years ago, but 2002 was the last time the monetary policy did this. The sharp increase is in the wake of the inflation being quite higher than what the monetary policy's target range is. Now, we all know the target range is between 4 and 6%. At the moment, I think it's about 7.4%. So what we see here from the monetary policy committee side is where the monetary policy is kicking in within South Africa. Every country's got a different type of monetary policy, but they sort of similar. So the moment inflation goes up, you know what else goes up. So this is the monetary policy going in, trying to curb the inflation and protecting the rand most likely. But not everybody is unhappy. I'm sure some of the investors are quite welcoming this news. Then again, Franch, I'm so sorry, I don't have good news, but we saw this week as well, a FATF, which is the Financial Action Task Force, has given South Africa 18 months to get its monetary affairs in order or risk money laundering and terrorist financing grey listing. Now, that's really bad, you know, if South Africa should be grey listed. So I could think that the FIC, which is the Financial Intelligence Center, like they say in Afrikaans, is in the rep en roer. So in the wake of this, I do expect the Financial Intelligence Center, FIC, to release quite a few notes, amend some regulations for public comment in the next few months, but also perhaps a deeper dive and a much bigger focus from their side on, for instance, beneficial ownership. So for those who's not familiar with what beneficial ownership means in terms of FICA, well, a beneficial owner is a natural person or the natural persons who's the ultimately owner and the beneficial owner. That's why they call the beneficial owner, and controls the interest in a legal entity such as a company or a foundation. So be on the lookout for, I think, quite a few things that's going to come from FIC. I also do believe that the Prudential Authority, as well as the Reserve Bank, would work, and I suppose the Conduct Authority as well. Those four, the FIC, Prudential Authority, Conduct Authority, and South African Reserve Bank, would work very closely and close aligned in the next 18 months. And I'm hoping and praying and believing in that sense that we will not be grey listed. Then I read a very interesting article on FA News around Old Mutual unit trust managers. So the Gauteng High Court ordered Old Mutual unit trust managers to pay 850 million in capital and an additional 850 million as interest in duplum level. In other words, in double, that's what it means, to the Living Hands Umbrella Trust and others. The court judgment dealt with the financial decisions that Old Mutual Unit Trust took dating back to 2004 in the collapse of Fidentia. Now, I'm sure you all recall the Fidentia saga back in 2004. Old Mutual, of course, did very quickly react and said they will appeal the matter. And then my last update from a South African point of view, and then we'll hone in on FPI, is that we've heard in the previous updates from the FPI via my colleagues that the Financial Sector Conduct Authority had issued their regulatory plan for the next 3 years. Now, let me tell you, it's quite a hefty plan. David and I are trying to work through it together with our competency committees. But there's another regulator that had issued a roadmap. And it's not surprising that it's IHOSCO that has IHOSCO's task force. Now, what does IHOSCO stand for? It's the International Organization for Security Commissions. So that's all the security commissions globally that has got a seat. At IHOSCO in South Africa, who's got the seat? Well, the Financial Sector Conduct Authority. And the person occupying that seat at the moment is none other than Unathi Kumlana, who is the current commissioner of the Financial Sector Conduct Authority. So IHOSCO's FinTech Task Force team then released their crypto roadmap for 2022-2023. And what they did is they split it into two task teams, which makes sense for me. The one stream would focus on crypto and digital assets. That's what they will focus on. And then the other one is going to focus obviously on DeFi. So what is DeFi? It's not your fridge or your microwave in your kitchen. It's actually decentralized finance. In other words, the digital ledgers or the technology or blockchain, whatever you want to call it, with that stream is then going to look at the technology used for cryptos. Cryptos are here to stay. For those who thought it was going to go, it's only going to become more and more part. I mean, if you look at the South African Reserve Bank just this week, declared their intention to declare crypto assets as a financial product in the FIC Act. And then the FIC would then rely on the Conduct Authority to look after and control the behavior of the individuals and the conduct involved in crypto assets. So, like I said, in South Africa, Unathi has that seat. More specific update from the FPI. FPI is hosting yet another exciting professional peer-to-peer collaboration session on the 28th of July. Now, this is unfortunately only just for FPI professional members. If you had not received your email in your email box, it's the 28th of July. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about remuneration models in South Africa and global trends when it comes to remuneration models. So we have a very exciting panel. It is our practice standards competency committee under the leadership of Henry Legrandse, and then also we have David Kopp from the FPI that would be on the panel as well. So please join us for that session on peer-to-peer collaboration around remuneration models. And then the 27th of July, if you had not registered yet, we have our retirement conference. This is where there's a vision that I had about 3 years ago, and every time I look at the program, I just say thank you, because the idea was to work with other professional bodies like the Actuarial Society of South Africa, but also the Institute for Retirement Funds and then the FPI as well. So what the three bodies are going to do at the retirement conference is to reflect on the retirement reform over the past decade. So yes, the retirement reform had been with us for about 10 years now. And what we're going to do is we're going to look from an actuary's point of view. What had the impact been on product design, for instance, and how did the world of the actuary changed because of the retirement reform? Then the same with the trustee and the principal officer. How did the life of those individuals change since the retirement reform? And then obviously from a financial planning point of view, how did that impact our roles? But more importantly, how did that impact the member, not the FPI member, but the member of the fund? We have a very exciting program for the retirement conference. And then seeing, Fransha, that you started with the number 23, what immediately popped into my mind, it's engraved, is remember the Propulsion Summit on the 23rd of August. And with that, Fransha, fluit, my story is klaar. Blessings, everyone.
Thank you, Leilani. You know how many times I've thought about, like, you and I should maybe present a show together, because we're going to have loads of fun, I think, between the two of us with our sense of humor and a sort of funky way of doing things. We can have quite an interesting show. So thank you very much for that. And righty, so next up we have Norma, and she talks about the 4 stages of belief. I hope that you have a coffee or a tea or I don't know, like warmed up lemon water or some weird and funky thing. And let's head on over to Norma and see what she has for us today.
Good morning to everyone. I want to talk to you today about 4 stages of belief. And I think if you think back maybe 2 weeks ago, I spoke about how do we believe new things. And I think this is a great addition to that, because this is exactly what we're going through when we're working towards believing that. So this is me right now, and this is where I want to be. And this is really the stages of belief. And this is what I want to talk to you about today. I want to first tell you why it's important, then I want to give you the 4 stages, and then how this can help us moving forward. So the reason I think this is very important, and really it's just because I was really going through this week, is that if we don't see and we don't acknowledge and we don't even know about these 4 stages of belief, it can really keep us from moving forward. And it can slow us down. So then let's say we set a goal and we get these days when we actually don't believe in the goal. We might think, you know what, this isn't worth it. I don't believe it. So that means it's not going to happen. So then we might just let go of the goal instead of just knowing it's one of the stages and moving through those stages. The second thing, it slows us down, because today I believe, so it means today I'm going to take action. And then tomorrow and the day after, I maybe don't believe as strong. And then I tell myself what I'm doing isn't working, or I'm doing it wrong, or it's something with me, and then I stop. So I go through the cycle of stop and go, and that just slows me down unnecessarily. So let me give you the 4 stages. So the first stage is really the light bulb moment. So this is where you realize, okay, this is my goal. This is the problem. This is why I don't believe in it. And this happened to me this week. So I have a goal, and I think I made that goal so big and it was so far into the future, and I was so disconnected from that goal that I didn't really believe it. And then when I was talking to my coach, we actually came to the conclusion that I didn't believe in my goal. So let's just break down that goal a little bit further and then set new timelines. And immediately I felt this is possible. So that is that light bulb moment. I need to realize where I am and meet myself where I'm at. Now, the second phase is, this is a river of misery. So this is exactly what it says. So this river is so long that I can't go, on either side. I have to actually go through it. So this river of misery is really where I don't really, I have lots of doubts still. I don't believe in the goal 100% of the time. So I have a lot of doubt. There's still a lot of effort that needs to take place. Then, when I am in this river of misery, I need to know that I have to make a plan when those doubts come up, or when I get to those days where I don't believe. And this is so important, because now that I know that those doubts are going to be coming up, I have a plan for it. So now I can say to myself, you know what, I'm going to take action for the next 30 days without expecting any payoff, without expecting my results to change. And then it's going to be easier for me. I can think things like, I'm going to take action no matter what. So I have to get that line that's going to get me through this river of misery, which is the phase 2. Now then we move on to phase 3, which is where I actually gain momentum. So this is where I actually start seeing results. I start seeing a payoff. And this is also where I start believing the new thought more than I'm thinking the old one. It's still there, but I put more weight on the new belief, which I want to think to get to my goal. And then lastly, we get to the stage where I actually believe it. So this is the inevitable part. This is the part where I know it's going to happen for me. This is like my default. So those are the 4 stages of belief. And I think once we know that, it's so important, and it really helps us moving forward. Because once we're in that stage, instead of giving up, instead of slowing ourselves down, we know this is just part of the process. It's almost like I recognize I'm in the river of misery and I need to move through it in order to get to my goal. So this process really can make the difference between us stopping or letting go of our goal versus just knowing that these phases are part of the process and that I have to move through them in order to get to my goal. So that is what I have for you today. And thanks for being here. I'll be back next week.
Alrighty, so good stuff. Thank you very much, Norma. And with that, let's just talk a little bit about the Propulsion Summit. Lelani mentioned that earlier, so thanks for that. It's happening on the 23rd of August, as you know, hopefully by now. It's going to start at 9 a.m. in the morning and we'll finish by 2. And as I said before, we've really tried to spice things up and to make it a little bit more dynamic, a little bit more fun, and a little bit more energetic. So that's what we're about. So, propulsion means to drive and push forward. And that's what it is. The underlying theme of the summit is raising the bar, which I think is apt for the very first summit that we're doing. And that's going to be the golden thread that runs throughout all the keynotes, all the panels and everything that takes place on the day. And there's a few things I need to announce around this. Something that I'm very excited about. Yesterday, got the news that the program, or the summit rather, was approved for 4 verifiable CPD points. So that's excellent news. So let me pause for dramatic effect, as Douglas would say. So 4 verifiable CPD points now on offer for attending the summit, if you obviously attend the entire summit. Very important. Then also just I want to mention the sponsors that are already on board. So we have Old Mutual Wealth, we have Innate, we have Advice Tech, as well as Advice Works. So all of them are on. We also have media partners that have come on board in the form of FA News, as well as Blue Chip Magazine. So we're very excited about that and very thankful. So thanks to all of them for partnering with us. And there are still a couple of sponsor slots open. We do limit it. We don't want too many, but there's still a couple open. So if anyone is interested or know of anyone that maybe should be sponsoring this, let them know, let me know, and we can make it happen. So then also we announced some more keynote speakers. Remember last week we announced Douglas and Ollie, and today happy to announce that another one is going to be Gratitude Mashlangu, and she's going to talk about your story, friend or foe. So based on her own story, this is a 10-minute keynote. All the keynotes will be only 10 minutes. And that's, I think, the exciting part. We are, even people like Douglas and the next person I'm going to announce as well, and all the other keynote speakers have got only 10 minutes to deliver their message, whereas usually they may be used to 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour to deliver their impactful message. So I said, guys, we've got to raise the bar, and let's see if we can do this in 10 minutes. The next keynote speaker I can announce, we did all of this on LinkedIn yesterday actually, is none other than Riaan Botha. So really excited. He's doing a short version of his very popular talk on push past impossible. So really excited to have Riaan on board as well. He is an extreme adventure swimmer. He was on the show way back in season 1. So yeah, really excited to have him there. So if you still want to get your tickets, remember Propulsion Pro members, this is included in your membership. But for everyone else, so you can either join the Propulsion Pro, or you can go get your tickets. So the tickets are available. Early bird ends the 24th. So if you head on over to propulsionsummit.com, the link is down below in the YouTube channel, then you will be able to get your tickets. Only 390 Rand full price. If you get the early bird, it's 325. So go get it now. Stop waiting. It is end of the month almost, so just do it, you know. And on that note, let's sort of get on with the show. I've got some more keynote speakers to announce. There's 3 more to announce next week. So excited for that. And so keep your eye on the social media sort of channels, as well as the emails. There is an email that is about to go out to everyone as well, also announcing all of this. So awesome stuff. Alrighty, so with that, I'm going to head on over and invite my guests to the studio so we can get into this amazing conversation. There you go. PJ and Geo, welcome to Propulsion Live this morning.
Good morning, Fransha, and morning for everyone that's watching.
Morning.
Awesome. Yeah, good to have you. I can still fondly remember the first time, like I saw this podcast go out, like the F word, and I don't know, the name just immediately struck me. I immediately went to listen to the first episode. I subscribed to the podcast over at Apple. And, you know, like I thought, like, I want to see if these guys are going to continue doing this. And I must say that you did. So before we get into the conversation with all of those weird and wonderful things, let's maybe just first start off with a little bit of an introduction. Pierre, if we can start with you, just maybe a brief introduction about yourself. And then, Geo, you can go after that. And then, yeah, we can get on with it.
Yeah, so I'm PJ Botha. So I introduced myself PJ Botha to the English-speaking folk. Yeah, and I've been in the industry for 10 years. Did study accounting, so I'm external auditor, did my chartered accounting, external auditing, and you did internal auditing. But unfortunately, we are not there anymore. So we are now in the financial planning industry, and we work at the firm that my father started. So that's got sucked into that. So that's where we are today.
Yeah, like PJ mentioned, I studied BCom internal auditing at that time, and I wasn't planning to go into financial planning per se. Like PJ said, my dad started the company. I didn't know what to do after internal auditing. I knew it was not internal auditing, but I did finish my degree. I did finish my honors, and then I went and worked in corporate in Momentum Consult for a couple of years. And 7 years ago, I joined Bovest, and my brother and father in the family company. So that's a little bit of background to where we started.
And I'm sort of keen to understand, you know, like both of you started something completely different and then end up in financial planning. When you went to study, were you sort of convinced that you should be studying what you studied? Like, I'm keen to sort of know that. Or is it just like, crap, I don't know what I'm going to do. Maybe this is a good idea. You know, I've always been good with numbers. I didn't do too bad at accounting at school, or did very well at accounting at school probably. And maybe this is the sort of cause. Or what was that like for you? Here, I'm going to because I know, I like how you say, I knew internal auditing wasn't for me. I didn't know what was, because that resonates so much with me. But, you know, and it's sometimes important to know what's not for you. You don't have to know what is for you, but if you know what's not for you, that's a very good start. But like, just talk a little bit about that and how that was for you. Like, why did you go and study that in the first instance? And then just at what point did you realize, like, this is not for me?
Yeah, Franchana, definitely for me, it was crap. I didn't know what I was going to do after school. And I remember speaking to my mother, and we spoke about what should I go and study. And I just read this one article, there's a need for internal auditors. And then I went and studied internal auditing. But I fairly quickly realized, you know, internal auditing is not for me. It doesn't suit my personality. It's all about, you know, assessing the risks, And it's not about me, but for me it was important to finish. So I wanted to finish my degree and finish my honors. And I mean, then you can do a lot with a degree. You have it on your CV. That's why I still believe in go and study something, even if you feel it's not for you. You can still use that in some way, and it shows you've got discipline. It shows you've got capacity to learn, and any employer will look at that as a positive. But these days you shouldn't be fixed, or you shouldn't think like, what I'm going to study, I have to do it for the rest of my life. I don't think that's changed fairly. That's changed a lot over the couple of years. So I don't know what I wanted to do, but fairly quickly realized it's not internal auditing.
Awesome. And PJ, shall I call you PJ today because we're in English?
No, we can do it. It's fine.
Okay, let's do that. Okay,
Most
for
of
you?
the time it becomes JP, so it's fine.
Okay, that's fine.
So yeah, no, I think most people that go study accounting there's a lot of opportunities when you study accounting, or mostly will probably make a lot of money. That's why most people go into accounting. And I still believe it's a very good field to go and study, because all of my friends that also studied and became chartered accountants, they are in very different fields. Some are in sports, some in mining. So I think it's still a very good degree. No one stays, I know about no one that stays in auditing. So I think it's a very good course to manage. And I think university degree is very important. It learns you to think. And unfortunately, sometimes you learn to think like accountants. So you see risks first the whole time. So I think to become a business owner, accounting sometimes might be holding you back, because you only see the risk. You don't see all the opportunities. And most people we talk to that's very successful don't see risk. They just go for it full head on.
Yeah, and that's a very interesting point to me. I never thought about it like that. So obviously the world do need accountants, because people that go into business like us, I just made a very big move without overthinking it too much. And I am like a little bit nervous now after the decision's been made, but it's like you see the opportunity and you go, and you do need someone to say, oh, but have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? But I guess it has got a lot to do with sort of one's personality, and whether, if that's the role you want to play, or if you are you would rather be seeking risk than avoiding risk, probably. What do you think has the biggest impact long term on your trajectory, or where you go in life? I'm not talking about how successful you are, or because there's too many variables there, but just the direction in which your career goes. So what you go and do, how much does doing a specific qualification have on that versus the work you go and do early on in your life? Which of those two do you think have the biggest impact on sort of the rest of your working career? I'm going to go with Geo. Sorry, Geo. I called you out there.
So we recently did a TV show, and we'll probably get to that. But one of my guests was Eric Kruger, and he's a high-performance coach. That's the best way to maybe describe it. And we spoke about, is it important to go and study? Is it important to learn and to educate yourself? And he said, if you're talking about formal education, that's not as important anymore. But education as a broad sense is very important. So I think that's what you have to differentiate. If you want to be successful in a specific field, you have to put in the work, and you have to educate yourself in that specific line. Like we just talked about, we didn't go and study financial planning or investment management. That wasn't part of our formal education. Later on, however, we liked the field. We started learning. We started listening to shows like this. You educate in that specific field. So I think if you have that capacity or that hunger to learn, I think that's the most important in whichever field you choose to go into. That's very important for your success going forward. Not the formal part, but just the education as a broad sense.
Yeah, and I love Eric. I saw him speak on a stage for the first time when they launched SME Africa way back. I think it was 2017 probably. I got the book that Actor Non-Verbal, and he talks about the principle of accretion in that book. And it's one of the things that he starts off with. And it's that thing about building, as you said, like systematically every day, like build a little bit on top of the previous skill and the previous habit. And over time, it becomes sort of this snowball with momentum that just, you always become unstoppable. And so I'm a big fan of Eric. I think, I don't know if it was it you that posted on LinkedIn at the time, like, I'm sort of at a bit of a cryptic Leidraad, and then I went like, oh, that's Eric. It must be Eric. So that you can also, if somebody talks about Eric, you can almost immediately, identify that, because he's built himself such a great brand, and I think his latest book is called Dangerous, if I remember correctly, and like I said, he's a phenomenal guy. But anyway, PJ, so the Bovest story, like, where did it all start, right? Because you said earlier your dad started this. How did he get into this? Where did Bovest start? And what was the origin story?
So you talked about early education and if it's important. My dad studied political science, so and how does that come to economics? But he always had a passion for finances, and he did part-time study to JSE stockbroking course and stuff like that. So he started a company in 2008, in the best time to start a financial planning practice. So he started 2008, and just from there, and he never dreamt of it as a family business. He just wanted to do work. He had some clients and just wanted to do good work. And now he's grown there, and he never expected us to join the firm. And we, like, when we went to study, never thought, oh, I'm just going to join the firm. So it definitely snowballed from there, from a one-man show now more to company-based. We are 5 advisors, so that's more where we are today.
Yeah, I love stories like that, and just sort of, it always started like, if I'm listening to that, like one man following his passion, sort of, and let's go do this. And I think political sciences are very, very, very valuable in what we do, to be honest. So that's a good thing. Before we get to sort of the different shows and things that you do, I want to talk a little bit about, just because I think the reason for that, if I'm like gathering from a little bit of research I did, is that what is very important to you is educating as many South Africans as possible on finances, right? So, I mean, why is that so important to you, PJ? If you think about that, I mean, there's many places, right? There's people who do it for free. There's people who want to do it for money. There's people who's writing books, all this kind of stuff. And you could have gone like, oh, there's so many people doing it. Why should we do it? But this is obviously something that's so important to both of you and to the company, I would assume. So, I mean, why is it so important?
Yeah, I think in my life there was 2 people that influenced me when I just started the industry. And it was, one person was nearing retirement, and she told me her story, and now she's kind of struggling. She doesn't have enough money for retirement. She stresses about her finances. And I traced it back, and I can just see if she just made 1 or 2 different decisions, she would have been in a completely different financial place. I mean, she cashed out her pension, to just name an example. So then I saw the importance of financial planning. Just 1 or 2 pieces of advice can literally change your life going forward, your financial life. And the other person was a young rugby player earning a lot of money at that time. And I fast forward 10 years later, he didn't work well with that money. His career ended, and then he had to start over. And I just saw those 2 people as an example of how important financial planning is, and how the influence we as financial advisors can make. You can literally change someone's life and someone's destiny. So I think that's what excites me. You can really make a difference in our industry, and I think that's why we do what we do. Or that's for me why I do what I do.
And I think we try to bring a bit more of an informal approach, and I think that's why the F word, finance, because the F word, no one wants to talk about it. That's why we try to take a more relaxed view on it, so a bit more informal for specific viewers. So there's a lot of great content. And everyone, we need more education, but we try then to make it a bit more informal, maybe for a younger audience, a bit more.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I think we try and take sort of a similar approach. Although there's a structure to things, it's like I'm very jokey and very like laid back, and as you say, this is a conversation kind of thing. So it's I think that's the way to really connect with people. And if you don't connect with people, then you'll never be able to sort of make this vision of yours a reality. And my question is, like, I mean, how do you go, like, sort of, if you think about where you started when you did that first episode, right? And now you're like, how many like episodes later? And we'll get to the TV show just now, but like how do you make sure, and how do you gauge whether you are having the impact that you are envisioning for this, like that you think you're going to have and that you would really want to have? How do you know that's starting to sort of happen here?
Yeah, I think that's the most difficult point, and I think you would know 183 episodes. Well done to you as well. But to consistently show up, even if you're not sure someone listens, if you're not sure you're making an impact, that's where it helps to do it with PJ. I must say, we keep each other accountable to consistently show up. And every now and then you just get a comment, or someone says, I've listened to your episode and now I've done this. That makes a big difference. The comments you get, and then all of a sudden you realize, okay, now we are back on track. So I think it's important to have that longer term vision and why are you doing this, and then to just show up consistently, which is definitely not always easy, but to have an accountability partner definitely helps me.
I must agree. Like I found exactly the same thing. Is somebody asked me the other day, like, how do you do it like every Friday? And it's just simply like in 2020, I made a promise that I'll show up. So I'm accountable to the people on the other end of this camera to sort of do that, and it's funny how, because I swear this is probably the first thing I've been this consistent at ever in my life. Like it's amazing when you have that accountability and you like you made a promise, it's out there in the world. It wasn't just to yourself. And suddenly you stick to it. And also, I think the other thing that has come through, like now over all these episodes, is consistency is always this key thing that drives whatever it is you want to do. Like if you have to be consistent and you have to be sort of patient, so those two things seems to go hand in hand. PJ, I want to ask you, like, where is the biggest gap when it comes to financial education? Because there's so many aspects when it comes to educating someone or teaching someone or guiding someone, showing someone around personal finance. Like, where are the biggest gaps do you find?
Yeah, I think like anything, I think it's so difficult to start. And I'm talking for people that don't know anything about finances. So we just need to bridge that gap where they find a little bit of information. And it's so difficult. We still don't have the answer, because we know the people that are watching the podcast and watching shows like this are the people that's interested in finance and probably on their way to a good retirement or good finance. We see it the same when we talk to students as well. We probably get 10% of the students that wants to educate, and they go and listen to the podcast and they go do that, and we do a lot of talks and stuff. But it's the people that's already educated. It's like people who read MoneyWeb. It's people that already know enough about finances reading MoneyWeb. So to make it interesting for that's the common folk that have no interest in finances. But that's a difficult thing. I don't have the answer, but I think that is the biggest gap still, just to get someone started. And maybe if it's a show like ours, just to ask questions, because I think that's why books like The Manage Your Money, like a grown up, that's good books to read, because that just gets you interested in that way. And I think that's the most important part.
And it's interesting
just to start the conversation, I think with our podcast, that was the most important thing, is the F word. Maybe someone will listen, and just now at a Brian, instead of just talking about rugby or whatever you talk about, is maybe just one or two, just start the conversation. That's why we didn't want to go too technical. We want to make it nice and informative, but in a friendly manner, so anybody can understand, just to start that conversation, like PJ mentioned.
Yeah, and do you also find that it feels like, people get a sense that they get to know you and that they have a relationship with you, even though you've never met? Do you find that happens for people that listen quite a bit, that like they just when you do talk to them, it's like, oh, we know each other. It's do you find that?
Yeah, interestingly, last night we had our function here in Pretoria, and there was a couple of people coming up to me, and you can see that they listen, and they said they listen and they watch the show, they listen to the podcast. So it felt like, we were friends, because they already know kind of what we are about. And there's immediately a point where we can have a discussion, because they're saying that one episode you said this, and so it's 100%. It starts building that relationship. And I think just another point I want to just mention another point we touch on. There's all social media and the effort we do, and it's difficult to show up consistently, like you mentioned. But then I remind PJ that probably my biggest client or second biggest client came from social media. So I think for advisors, a lot of the time we think it's an add-on, or I'll do it when I have time, or I must first, I don't prioritize it really. But then when you get one client, two clients, you actually see that you are getting paid to do this. If you think of it that way, you are actually getting paid to do this. So it's a very important part, and I think it will be even more important going forward, to consistently show up, because that actually is where you can get a lot of clients from. So it's not just an add-on, it's not just a nice to have, it's not just an educational experience, it's part of your business. And I think it's part of your business even more so going forward.
I think that's a nice, yes, and I fully agree with that. If you're not creating content for social, and if you're not putting things out into social, that it's never too late to start, number one. But you probably should have started a few years ago already, because it is such an important vehicle, and it doesn't replace any of the other mediums that we might be used to, or like this is complementary to that. And the thing is that, I mean, we all started like shows and podcasts and things which would never have been possible. I mean, like you now took it to the next level, and I want to get into this because I think what you just said sort of leads nicely into us talking about, like, let's just talk about the opportunity of being in media, because that still really is the next level, right? So, I mean, social, you can have a big following, you can do all of this, and some people choose just to do that because they're comfortable. Other people are like, okay, what's the next level to that? And probably getting into mainstream media is definitely something that is valuable. I spoke to Mduduzi Latuli way back on my podcast when I still just did the podcast. And he's also big on, he's always on TV and on radio and all these kind of things. But I mean, you started this podcast, and the next moment I see this thing called Welvaartskeppers, which is wealth creators for our, to just sort of translate that. It's a show on KykNet where you were visiting successful people, that have businesses and that have built wealth, and sort of to talk to them about their story and how they've done it and all of that. And there's some interesting banter between the two of you as well, where you talk about, sit back, relax, and talk about things, etc., like the qualification thing. So, I think that I want to find out, like, how did that happen and why did that happen? So I don't know who of you wants to take that one. You're welcome.
Yeah, I'll start. Yeah, I remember 3 years ago, we sat in a boardroom, and myself and PJ and my father having a discussion about one client strategy and how he built his business. And, we learned so much from that specific client. And then the idea just came up, we need to share this with our other clients or with other people, the general public out there, because you can learn so much from a successful client and implement that to build your own business. And then we took it further. Then my father wrote the book, Welvaartskeppers. So there was a book, Welvaartskeppers, which we were also co-authors in. But then I see, like you mentioned, mainstream media is still, a big platform. It's not dead. A lot of people say mainstream media is dead. Social media is the next thing, and it might be, but still mainstream media is currently still very big. So then I said, we shouldn't keep it in book format. Let's take it a step further. And then I approached KykNet and pitched the idea. Didn't hear anything for 6 months. I basically forgot about it. And then all of a sudden they came back and they said they liked the idea. Let's go for it.
Yeah, just on that, a lot of people ask, now, how did you do this? So I think, and everyone asks, how do you get a show on KykNet? And we asked the KykNet guys as well, and they said, just pitch the idea on the website.
Yeah, I think a lot of the time you have an idea, but you don't take that leap. And people ask me how I did it. I just basically went on KykNet website. There's a place where you can submit a proposal, and I submit the proposal through there. And like I mentioned, I just took a chance, and I actually forgot about it. And then, they came back.
Wow, I love that. And so what are some of the outstanding lessons? And I want to ask, like, maybe also, but I'll keep this one for after this. I mean, you spoke to these, like, I think there were 13 episodes, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, you spoke to quite an amazing group of people. Like, what were some of the outstanding lessons? I mean, you've been doing this now for quite a while. Your dad's been doing this for years. Like, almost get to a point where you might think or feel like you've seen it all, you've heard it all, but I mean, I'm convinced that there must be things that you went like, whoa, okay, that's either a very different way of looking at something, or whoa, never thought of it this way. Like, PJ, like, what stood out?
Yeah, one thing for me is, like, all of them is very positive people. And then always say, are they positive because they are successful, or are they successful because they're positive? Because if you are successful, everything is sunshine and roses. But I think all of these people, and I think everyone watching this show as well, is positive mindset people. They believe everything is possible and they can build their business, they can do things. And even if bad stuff happen like COVID, you said you started your podcast in that time, they still see opportunity in the negative. So all of them take something bad and they just go on and continue and positive, all of them around.
Yeah, and I think a nice story, one of our guests, or Michael Jordan, everybody will probably know about him, previous CEO from FN First Rand. And I know PJ was always been a big fan, and we wanted him on the show, and we didn't know how we're going to approach him. And I just said, he replied to a tweet once from PJ, and I said, just send him a Twitter message. Just take that leap. And I think I'm glad to see PJ took that step from being an auditor and being risk averse to just taking a step. And then he said, yes, he's definitely, he wants to be part. And that's also what we see about these people. They're willing to share. They want to share. Successful people want to share how they made money. It's not like they want to keep it. It's a secret. They want to keep it for themselves. They are willing to give you ideas and to share tips. And just another example, I interviewed, my very first interview was with Albie Geldenhuys from USN. I built a massively successful business now in over 50 countries. But I asked him, was this always the plan? And he said, no. So I learned then, he made me realize that you don't always need a plan. We put too much emphasis on young people, like, what's your 5-year plan? What's your 10-year plan? What are you going to do with your life? And he just said, set small, short-term targets for yourself. Go for that, work hard, achieve that, see are you successful, reassess, and then you go again, short-term targets. So it doesn't have to always be this grand 5-year plan that where you're going to. Set for yourself short-term targets, work hard, and then reassess.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, and just on the instant gratification age that we live in, we as millennials probably believe that, and we always ask, "What's the next thing that we do?" And our dad always say, "Just keep on doing good work, client per client, and the rest will come."
Yeah, it's powerful. So the question is, like, out of all these successful people, I mean, you had Michael Jordan, Albie Geldenhuys, Eric Krier. I mean, he coaches high performance teams as well. Like, I mean, this is sort of the stuff, right? My question is, do they have all the answers? Or did you find that there's things that they're unsure? They don't know how they're going to do it. They don't have answers to what the next thing is. Was there any of that in the discussions?
Yeah, especially in wealth management. Like you mentioned, myself and PJ took different approaches. Like, example, should you invest in property? And I say, no, I don't believe so. PJ took the way of, yes, you should. And there is no right or wrong answer. I think that's the beauty when it comes to money and making money. There's no right or wrong way. You can take one approach or another approach. Both of you can, create wealth. So no, they don't have all the answers, and there isn't just one answer. I think that's the beauty of it. There's different ways of looking at it, and find what works for you. Find what works for your personality. But do something. I think that's what we saw with all these people. They're action takers. It's not just talking about it, not just sitting and having a plan. They take action. So even if it's the wrong action, you will learn from that. But just take action. Don't wait for the right answer. Like you mentioned, they don't have the right answers. They made a lot of mistakes, all these people, but they took action. I think that's also a very important point.
Yeah, and I think that's probably, my wife and I actually had a conversation last night around, it's all about the action you take. It's not about the plan. It's not about the goal. It's not about what's in front of you or behind you or things you don't know what's going to happen. All you have control of is actually one, that you take action, as well as the actions that you do take. And if it is the wrong action, that's okay. It's lesson learned, right? So then just take the next action and do the next thing. So important. I'm keen to just quickly, I want to get into succession planning, but what opportunities came from this initiative? Is there any opportunities that you can say, well, like something dramatic changed or something significant changed, for your business or for your personal brands or whatever it may be? And then also maybe in the same vein, just, are there certain things to look out for if someone does decide to sort of venture into mainstream media? So PJ, would you like to take that one, or Geo?
He's more.
Yeah. I think people. Yeah, they ask, like, did your life all of a sudden change and there's an influx of clients? And I think once again, no, it doesn't happen like you do one event and your whole business change. And I think once again, I said to PJ, this is a long-term goal. Don't think we're going to do a show on TV and people are going to stand, knock on your door constantly. So we definitely saw for brand awareness first, definitely there's a very positive thing because people like the positivity and the, it's truly South African. They like that. But
existing clients love it.
Yeah, so existing clients, first of all, you have your existing clients, they love it. So you build that connections. And then also the referrals obviously then increase because your existing clients now want to refer other people to you. And there's obviously then been clients completely that we didn't know that came through the website. But it's still, I said, we must still from here on build on this. It's not like we did the show and now we can sit back. You still now have to use your personal brand, have to use what we gained in this whole experience and reach out to the clients.
Yeah, I think we can go back to the education part. Now, when you study and you are a chartered accountant, you think, okay, now the money's just going to flow in. And it's not how it works. Everyone thinks I'm going to do this and then it's just going to happen. But so it's definitely an ongoing process. It's just a stepping stone to the next thing.
Yeah, and I think it builds that familiarity that if someone is referred to you, it's a much easier sort of thing to cross. Because usually, even if somebody says, you should speak to PJ or to Geo or to whoever, people would go like, okay, no, that's cool, but let me go do a bit of my own homework. I'm not just going to go on their word. But now, like, there's all this social proof. There's things out there. And I think the biggest thing about doing things like this, for instance, is that people get to experience you and decide for themselves without even having met you, whether they resonate with what you say, how you say it, sort of your demeanor, your personality, all of those things. And it makes that part definitely easier. Anything to look out for specifically, like something to be careful of when you do venture onto something like this, like anything that maybe stands out?
I didn't get negative.
No, you didn't.
You're most negative in yourself, I think.
Yeah, I think you negative yourself. One comment we did get is, and I think 100% know who's your target audience, know who you are want to target, because not everybody's going to like me or resonate with me. And PJ definitely, some people are going to resonate more with him, some people will resonate more with myself. I know the one lady said, please, if you do another season, please just shave, so that's one example of so what we got. But no, I think just know what you're wanting to achieve, and don't just do it to be on TV, or you really know why you are doing it. I think that's the one thing I would say people need to look out for. It's just be true to yourself and know why you are doing what you're doing.
Yeah, awesome. I quickly want to get a little bit into succession planning. I mean, obviously, like you said, working in this business with your dad. So there must be sort of different dynamics at play. I mean, you've got I won't say necessarily, maybe there's a similar mindset in the business, but different views and sort of different things where you might want things to go in the future or not. Like, what is that dynamic like working with your father in this business? And there's more planners, and it's a bigger business than just the three of you. But I mean, that sort of I would guess the core would be. And I mean, what is that like for you on a day-to-day basis to work so closely as you said, it was never intended to be a family business. Now it is. Like, so what is that like?
I think from an outsider perspective, they always ask the question, how do you work with your father and brother? And it's very difficult. But I think the great thing about financial planning industry is you're still a business in a business. I think everyone here, you still have your own clients, you have your own book, you have your own franchise in the business. You're just part of a bigger group. So I think that's a great thing about our industry is you still build your own brand. And like Jose, he maybe focus on medical doctors. My father focus on retirement planning. I'm more on business owners. So you can have your own thing, and he wants to do it more on social media, and he goes a wine and well function, and he can do that. So that's great. And I can do other things as well. So a bit more analytical, and I'm going to have my own type of clients in that. So I think that's a great thing. Everyone's got their own strengths, and in the business itself, we complement. I'm more the financial because it is study accounting, analytical. So the finances is more on my side. Geo, it's just natural in the marketing side, and that's why Welvaartskeppers and all the things come from his side. So we give each other space in, okay, you are better in this and you're better in that. So let's work together to create a goal.
Yeah, like I said, give each other space and respect each other. And I think that's also from my father's side. He let us run with it. He didn't say like, this is always how it used to be done. We're going to stick to that, which I guess happens a lot when you get the older generation to, glue. They want to stay in control. And luckily my father didn't want to do that.
Especially on farms. Probably.
Yeah.
Cool. So the question is like, how are you approaching those? Is that a conversation that's taking place regularly? Is it like every so often? Do you have a very clear succession plan for the business? What is that like?
Yeah, so we definitely started, like this year we started, my father is turning 67, but he will sit a weekend at home and then says, no, he can't stay that long at home. So he doesn't want to fully retire. And everyone asks, do you want your father to go? Definitely not, because he still gets clients. And at his age, the bigger clients, he'd still get the bigger clients, and we can help with servicing and the technical side and the para planning. So want him as long as we can in the business, because he's, again, got a certain client that wants to work with him. But we start with succession planning. So how we do this is we have servicing advisors. So he's a primary advisor then, and on his book we have servicing advisors like Geo's in Stellenbosch. So the Cape Town clients, naturally Geo help with, and then I'm in Pretoria, so with that clients, and we have also Ruvan with assisting with clients. So we started with that. So if anything happens now, they are familiar with, okay, he's going to take over the book. So that's definitely the succession planning. And we do a fee split, I think, on that, specifically on that. And the idea is you can increase it later on, and then you can maybe you buy the book in the end if he wants to retire. So I think he's going to get the bigger clients in the end.
Awesome. So to end off, like 1 minute each, like what do you think the future holds for the profession if we zoom out a little bit and we look at the profession as a whole? I mean, here, where do you feel things are going, or where do they have to go?
Yeah, no, it's exciting to see a lot of, like you were doing now, and there's exciting financial advisors, and there's good financial advisors out there. And I think that's great that we have a lot of successful, good financial planners out there. It just lifts our industry, so we don't see that as competition. We invite, good financial planners, and I think just the industry is making a step up, and I'm excited for what's lying ahead. To continue on this journey, and I think there's so much opportunities available. And PJ said, it's such a great business to work in, because you have a business within a business, and you can, be yourself and attract the clients that you want to. So for me, it's exciting prospects for the industry.
Yeah, so I definitely think the profession is getting more professional, because that's the one thing when you start from accounting and now you go into this industry, and then people's got the perception, why do you do this? Why are you going to sell policies and do that? So it's still the perception, but I think it's definitely changing. But you see, definitely there's people that you can still get that only sell policies, and then you get people that do planning. And it's up to us and everyone here to make that shift to the more professional era.
Awesome. No, I fully agree, and I think that's what we absolutely are about. So happy, and I think that's why like I'm always amazed at the caliber of, and I say the caliber with respect, but like caliber of people that come onto the show, the caliber of people in our community around the show and Propulsion Pro and all of those kind of things. It's people who are inherently positive, as you said earlier. It's people who want to see things move forward. We want to raise the bar. We want to move it deeper and deeper into a profession, because I believe we are a profession at the core. The fact that people focus on different areas within that, because profession also has a lot to do with behavior and how you act. It's not necessarily always what you do, and it's not always your qualification. It's got a lot to do with the way you actually behave and how much ethics plays a role. I think that's a big part of that. But guys, I want to say a massive thank you. I really enjoyed the conversation. It was amazing. I wish you well. And I did share your websites on screen just now, and then also in the description on the YouTube channel, you can find links to various different things. So please go check it out. And wishing you both well. And hopefully there's going to be a season 2 of Welvaartskeppers. And if people haven't watched it, go and check it out on KykNet. Even if you're English, go check it out. There's much to learn in Afrikaans. If they do talk about numbers, it'll be in English, so don't worry. But stuff, PJ and Geo, just thank you so much. Hope you have a fantastic weekend.
Thank you, Franjo, and all the best for you as well. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks.
Thanks a lot, guys. All right, and just like that, we come to the end of the show. Next week, my guest is Alan Yates from Peregrine Capital. We're going to talk a little bit about hedge funds, something we've never spoken about on the show. We've had the likes of Roelof on here from Mighton Optimal and things we spoke about, DFMs and the markets and things like that. But this is the first time we're going to talk a little bit about hedge funds. So do join us next week. We'll be back same time, same place. So have a great weekend. Stay safe. Be blessed and prosper. And remember to continue to raise the bar. Love you. Bye-bye.